Could you tell me a little bit about your history, your boat, and your family history as well?
As far as the boat history, I've been a fisherman for about 50 years. And I started out with my cousin, and I fished with him for about 15 years. But I did a lot of fishing prior to that. Then I went to work for the Coast Guard for 9 years, and they moved out. So I went back into the fishing game, and I went after a license to commercial fish for salmon. I got the license, got the boat, it's a long ways back. But in all the time that I fished prior to owning my own boat, when I got my own boat, it was easy. I'm done. It was easy for me to get in. And so I stayed at it, and I decided to get into politics. And I was in politics for 28 years. And I was a mayor for the community for 4 terms. And I probably would have been still there, except for the fact that my wife had some issues with her health. So I had to back out of there and take care of my wife. I was asked to go back several different times. And by then I told them I was too old. I wasn't, but I said, no, right now I'm 77. She's 77. So we have a big history in fishing. I've been across the Gulf 3 times and chasing herring. And then I went up to Bering Sea and fished gillnet herring for 1 year. I got smart then, I did. So after doing all that, and getting back into my politics, I was in it for 28 years. I've been to Washington, D.C. probably about 50 times. That's to lobby for federal funds for the community and any other thing that's out there. So I dealt with some very strong people on the Hill. But I got a lot of money. And so after being in the mayor's chair for 4 terms, my boy had to take my boat over. And so while I was still in the mayor's office, they had a buyback program on the license. and it was a good time for me to get out. So I sold my limited entry for a good sum of money. And I held on to the boat because we could fish an island without a license. And we fished it for 4 years. And my boy was a very good fisherman. But he came to me one day and said, "It's time for us to sell the boat." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because our crew got too old on us." I had a very good crew, but they got old. And we fished hard, and when you fish hard, you have to be young. So I told him okay, and the company I fished for bought the boat back from me. And I turned around and I got 2 gill netters. One for my oldest boy, one for me, but my younger boy runs it. And ever since we've gotten into the gill netting, it's been a tough go. But now, with the way things are going, where people are putting hatcher fish in the water, it's very lucrative, or it was. But what happened when the price went sky high on all our fish, the Russians got into that war with Ukraine. And to subsidize their portion of the war, they learned how to put fish in the water from the Americans and the Japanese, and they got very good at it. So all of a sudden they had more fish than they could handle. So they dumped it on the market. They dumped the whole works on the market. Price went from there down to there. And so we're still trying to recover from it. Hopefully we will, because if you're good at putting fish in the market, they keep coming back to you. But if you aren't, and you're a fluke, then they're out of the way. Because right now, on the island, they're doing very good at putting fish in the water. Last year, you could walk on a fish all the way around this island. I've never ever experienced that before. And the reason I know that was I was running her back and forth to Anchorage, and we were chartering boats to take us to the airport. And all my hot fishing places along the way, just masses and masses. I could have went in there, made one set and loaded up. But nobody wanted them. When that went down, everybody kind of went their own way. Pretty hard to go in there. But some of the guys that hung tough in the fishery last year did real well on the bay fishery. They put a lot of fish in the bay. You'd be amazed. Oh, fishing all over. I fished where I put 12,000 fish in my first year. 12,000. With the way the fishery was going within the last 10 years, I was catching that in one set. But now, when you catch fish, it's not by the fish anymore, it's by the pound. And so, he's gotten fish. I was on there at 30,000 pounds and he pulled it over the side. The boat's like this here. You think you're gonna roll over. The more it goes in, starts coming down. Make 2 sets, you're plumb full. And it was a good, I had a real good fishing career. People always cry, did you hear about this next year? No, we're not going to get paid. Oh yeah? What you going to do? I said, what are you going to do? Oh, I stay home. I said, good. I said, it means more for me. I'm a fisherman. I can't stay home. I have to go out there and dump your gear in the water. In the back of your mind, you're always thinking that once you start latching on to fish and everything, pretty soon that thing starts to climb. And it did. Every year we're out there, we made money not big, but we caught a lot of fish and it made up for the low price. But that's the way it is when you're a fisherman. You have to fish hard to make money. I'll tell you another big thing that hit the fishing industry real big. And that's why they started this buyback program. They're trying to buy licenses to cut the fleet down and keep the prime fishermen there where they could go to the bank and borrow money for their boats. That was the reason. And the big thing on the market now is you see all these young guys going out to fish. They can't miss. You boom, like that there. You have a GPS. Shows you right where the rock is. Here's another thing, it'll show you where the fish are up in front of you. And your gear is so intense. I had the best gear. But that's how you catch fish. Well, now they have this gear that they call Spectra. It's the strongest. You can't even rip it. It's so strong. But it costs you money. Costs lots of money. And see, when they went to that Spectra gear, it's real thin, like gill nut. And so, you didn't need a big, super powerful power skiff to tow the beach end because that thing cut water so good. See, if me, I had to make how I was going to let go so I didn't drift back too fast, whatever. And so now you don't have to do that. You dump your gear in the water, you go right against the tide. You go a quarter of a mile in 10 minutes, and it takes you the whole set to go a quarter of a mile. And that's what made this thing foolproof now. You don't have to be good. Everything's right here. I never had any of that. I learned how to go from there all the way up to Sitka and with a compass. Tell you a good story. We left Ketchikan. We're going north to go fishing icy straits. No radar. And it was blowing southeast. So we're going up the channel. Going towards, and got pretty sloppy out there. I seen this light up ahead of us. So we started catching them up and it got calm. What the heck's going on here? We're sitting, me and my partner were sitting there drinking a beer, steering and using the compass. And I threw a beer bottle over and it busted. There was a log raft right next to me. And a big light came around like it's right on top of me. I was right next to the log raft. But there's a lot of things that you learn from like the old guys. Bird Bay, her dad. Long time ago, they didn't have a radio to hear what the weather forecast was. Time to go fishing, southeast 2030. One of the big boats would take off. So all the little ones would call him, "Where you at?" He'd tell them, but he said he was the forecast man. He said, "Don't go in close. You gotta stay out in the middle. It's calmer out in the middle." Or he'd say, "Go right next to the beach. It'll be a better trip for you." That's how they never stopped. Those guys were tough. Toughest guys on the sea. You can't beat them. My father, my Uncle Ray, Frank Hayward. I don't know if Bert went across, but it got so tough here, there was no fish. They put their little seines in the hole. They didn't have big monster boats. Put the seines in the hole, pull the bars, give out and back, and lash it down. Drop their boom, have their stabilizers on. Took off, went across the Gulf. They went to Falls Pass. There was about 4 or 5 of them. Went across and fished over there. Couldn't find any. They, when it got rough, they had to pull their skiffs and just jog like that. Otherwise, you'd lose your skiff. And so they jog out there. Then they all finally made a big parade coming back home. But there was a lot of good footage on movie from up there. My uncle was a camera hound. He had it all. And here his daughter threw it out the dump in Seattle. He had it all. Had all the. My uncle down here, the same way. There's not too many old pictures. Well, I can tell you a little about traps, but I'm not going to tell you about the robberies. Anyway, it was a good living, and I learned a real lot from the older guy. My uncle, he was my dad's oldest brother. He taught me how to hang gear when I was this big. I had a whole gear, the web for him. And if I did something wrong, it'd hit me with a needle. You know. And my dad would look at me and he knew I had a real short fuse. But my uncle used to always pick on me all the time. And he talked sushi to my dad and laugh. And you could hear him say, "Look at Victor." You know, my dad never said nothing to him. He just said, "You want to learn? You want to learn how to." So here, that's the man you want to learn from. So I learned all that from all those older guys. I didn't learn. I learned from my cousin, but he was the only one I fished with when I was younger. But we grew up out in the West Coast, what you call Noyes Island. I loved it out there. You couldn't even stand up. I cooked in the big soup where you make soup, fry eggs way down on the bottom. You know, so I fished out there all my life till I got my own boat. And then when they went into quality, they made you get RSW, raw seawater chip. So I bought mine. And see, it was good. All my fish were solid. Come off my boat. When I fished a long time ago, they just dump everything in, throw it off, and fish 6 days a week. 1 day off. Out there, we just go to this cannery out there. They had a shower, everybody would be fighting over it because the whole fleet was. Then we play basketball. Time to go, we take off 4 o'clock in the morning, go back out on the grounds and fish. When we started chasing hatchery fish, I watched those guys that were top dog at getting fish out of a hatchery. One was Bert May. The other one was Frank Hayward. And I learned. I made a lot of money chasing hatchery fish. Learned how to bump people out of the way. You had to be tough. People cussing at you right across. They get the hell out of the way. Don't tie up next to you and jump on your boat. So I did a lot of that hatchery fishing. I loved it. But then it started to decline. And when it went on a decline, it went real fast. The last big seasons I had were in Neats Bay. Plug the whole boat was all chum, one set. I think I got about 6 loads out of there. Not all at one time, but I got 6 loads out of there. So you learn and you listen. One thing you do is listen. I never missed anything, watching. So then you learn how to fish. If you don't want to ask a guy, you watch him. See what he's doing. After a while, it caught on really. Didn't have to watch anybody anymore. Did my own thing. But I tried to get away and fish by myself a lot of the time. And I always did better than most. Worked harder, but I was the only one there. Sorry, I just cut my throat open. But like I say, as a fisherman, you can't just keep going out there and fishing. At the end of the season, you put your gear away, you put your boat away. 3 or 4 months before the season starts. 2 years in a row, I put $42,000 into my own boat. 2 years, 80 in 2 years. Because I know I'll get it right back. And I did. No breakdowns. Change oil. Change all your filters all the time. You check your rigging for frayed lines. Everything. You have to check. You have to, because that's your crew. You don't want anything breaking. So there's a lot of issues that the younger people don't realize. I learned because I had a old boat, old gear, old ropes. So now they got you have to pay for them. Like on my last boat, I bought a piece of Spectra for my Gearmatic, 35,000 pound pull. I know it cost me $150, $200 from here to that door. Where I could get a whole piece for $10. But you want the best, because you're picking up so much weight, At the end, it was a lot of fun, but I had to make sure all my rigging was top of the line. My seine had to be top of the line. I was fortunate in learning the seine game. My uncle hung gear for Seattle Marine for 60 years. He probably hung every seine from up in the Aleutians all the way to Seattle. And he stayed at it. So when he passed away, I already, he'd send me schematics all the time. He sent me all his schematics. And then I told him I needed to make a bumper. So he sent me how to make a bumper. And how much? 3 different colors. And just enough to make the bumper look like a big buffalo head. If you do it right. When you make that bumper, you start, after it's done, you cut little pieces of line like that there. And you stick it in and pull it back. And you tie them together like that. And you fray it. You get a little brush and go like that there. Do the next one. When you're done, it looks like whiskers.
Is the bumper for the front of the Saints
Right.
gift? Yeah.
It saves your bumper. It saves it from wearing out.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is change the whiskers on it once in a while. And he taught me how to do that. And all his gear was good. There's a piece of gear for the end of your seine, not where the fish are. It's on the boat end. Okay, when you're towing, you're always looking back to see if the fish are trying to lead out by you. That piece of gear in the first 10 fathoms is cut to where all you do is turn one way like this, and then it turns in a parachute. Look like you're towing a big parachute behind you. So the fish hit that back in. See, I always had that. But now they get their gear back so fast that they let their seine out. 10 minutes later, it's all ready back on your boat. That's how fast it is.
When you first started fishing, how long would the net be in the water?
It's the same size net.
Mm-hmm.
Just your hydraulics. Plus they have what you call a half purse. Okay, before you had a jam ring. But they just go right by the jam ring now. And keep pursing. Keep pursing. Pretty soon your rings come up so you stop and keep hauling. It just jerks your sand right over the top. You don't have to do nothing. Before, when my rings came up, I had to put a ring bar in it, pull it up, but we're real fast at doing it. But the way they do it now, nothing. You're right to your fish right away. So it's quite a change from the time I started fishing, where I had to stand on the back end out in Noise Island, pulling the corks. You pulled every time the boat went down. Cut it off. Here it comes up. When it goes down, you pull the slot. And the reason for that was you didn't want your corks to go around the corner and get in your wheel. But now, you don't have to do any of that. Your corks are already on board. Because I full pursed a long time ago. And you're pulling from both ends. Closes the whole boat. But now they just, your half purse is right here, and you're hauling your gear up over here. And your skip toes you right. Real simple. Simple, like I say, the technology made everybody good fishermen. It did. Me, I learned without any technology. I knew where to put my gear in the rocks. You know, but other than that, like I say, there's very few, if any, left that know how I went through the fishery. You know, like I say, Bird Bay fished all his life. My father-in-law, see that big blue boat up in the corner? The big blue one. That's 105 feet long. My father-in-law, one guy from Ketchikan, ran us around through the Panama Canal from the coast of Maine. And he was gonna try to do something with it, but he got on this side and he used up too much money. So my father-in-law was in the business. My father-in-law cut it all down. It didn't look like that. My father-in-law was a shipwright, master shipwright. He was the one that built it. He built that boat there, the Teresa.
Okay.
That's the name, named after my wife, and the painting on her. That was, he had it for 2 years. And he stayed in the buying game instead of fishing. So he had to get bigger. And he found out that was too small, brand new. And Kaiser Aluminum offered him real good money in Seattle. He had it in Seattle. And he jumped at it. And they said, we'll give you all this money. But we want you to run it down to Baja. So he hired his uncle. And his uncle ran it down to Baja, California. And he bought a bigger boat. He had 5 bigger boats. That one was the biggest one he had.
The blue one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've always been in business that that picture with all the fish on deck,
Mm-hmm.
that's 70,000 pounds. The hatch is open.
Wow. Just spilling off the sides.
We're right down, there's water on deck. And so, I figure if I was gonna get in the game, I wanted to be the best. Tried hard. You still had birthday, Frank Hayward and them, but I was right on them. You know, so worked hard, fished hard, fished in rough weather. But later on, I didn't have to fish in rough weather. I moved my whole fishing game from Percy to the south end outside of Gravina. Loaded up all the time. All the time. So, but I don't know if you have any questions.
You're answering my questions as you go. Thank you. Really appreciate this. What what are the names of the boats that you had, and when were they built, and sort of that history of your vessels?
Okay, I had the Miss Tracy. I don't know when that one was built, but the Miss Tracy was built by the same people in the same shop.
Mm.
And they're the exactly same hull
Okay. As the Teresa?
as the Teresa.
Okay.
And that would be 60 years ago,
Mm.
maybe even. But I didn't, it went through a lot of hands before I got it. Then I was gonna bring the boat to Port Townsend and recock it and re-nail it. And Victor was fishing right out here and got southeast. And he said, I'm coming home. Got a full load. He got a little ways out and boat went down.
So that was the Miss Tracy that went down? Yeah.
So the next day, we caught so much fish for Trident, they sold that boat. The second boat.
Mm.
They already sold it. They called me up and said, well, we have a boat that has fiberglass tank, all new hydraulics, all new wiring, and it holds about 50,000 pounds.
Mm.
Guy already gave us earnest money out. But if you say you want the boat, we're calling them up and telling them come to get us money. So he flew me and Victor down to look at the boat. It was a couple of days after.
Mm.
And we told him we'd take it. So we came home and we ended up going back down and running it up. I changed the whole top house on it.
Mm. What was the name of that one?
Used to be the Souvenir.
Okay.
Used to be the Souvenir. But I named it after my niece, Pamela Denise.
Mm.
First day I had it, I called the company, told them I need a tender. You don't get one out here on a sink. We're plugged. They got a tender to me. We offloaded it. They finally told me, well, we finally know what the boat holds. So all the people that ran it before never put fish in it. We did that. We did that start of the season to the end of the season. Loaded every day. Loved it. It was easy because I had a fiberglass hole.
Mm.
Pull up to the tender, throw a pump in there, take them 10 minutes, all empty.
Mm.
Before, if I had a load and I had to unload it by hand, we'd come in 9 o'clock at night, 18,000 fish. 6 o'clock in the morning, we're finally done. So, as things went on, everything got good. But it costs money.
Mm-hmm.
You want to stay in the game, it's going to cost you money. So, yeah, that one, we're happy with it, but our crew got to do home. Because we're making good money. Good money. I honestly think that I can run a boat yet. I didn't quit because I got too old. I quit because my crew got too old. So, but I have 2 boats. I have a aluminum one that he has, and I have a fiberglass one
Mm.
for myself. And so, we'll see what happens. I just might sell mine.
Mm.
Anyway, there's not too much more I can tell you, except that long time ago, they used to pull the seine over a roller on the stern. And when I got into it, I had a power block. And it was easy then, but after a while, all I had was hydraulics. Well, you know, pull a big bag over his side. He has some big pictures, full load, right down here. All dogs, full load of dogs. So we've had some pictures that people took of us while fishing on the outside. 30,000 pound pull. You got 30,000 pound pulls. There's not too many people that do that. But my gear, my gear was excellent. And I knew how to hang on. So later on, he more or less took over. Did real well. Chased a lot of hatchery fish. Chased all the fish around here. One time, some fishermen won't fish when it's harbor, what you call Harbor Day. Even the big guys. He ran down. What was the name of that place?
What?
Pot cover.
Oh, Lucky Cove.
He ran down to Lucky Cove in a storm. First opening, first day. Fish popping all over. And his uncle is real tough. His uncle ran the skip for him. And so they got down there, nobody fishing. So they wonder if it's open. Look at all the fish, big waves, big monsters. So he got on the phone and he called Trident. He said, I'm down by the corner here. Nobody fishing. Ah, shit. Everybody stayed home. Stayed home because it was Harbor Day. He said, is it open? I said, yeah. So his uncle went up by him. What do you think, nephew? Let's go. They let her fly. They had a half load on her first. Ran back on and let her go again. Deck loaded. And while they're hauling in, Danny Majors, you know Danny Majors. He came out from beyond the island. What the hell are you doing, Victor? Victor said, how come you guys aren't fishing? Too damn rough. He said, you better dump your gear. He said, I'm going in. I'm plugged. Made 2 sets. Ran all the way to the plant. He called up the manager. Got on in at the tender's way down there. So my uncle asked him, what the hell is going on? Ah, everybody stayed home. We don't need a tender down there. Said, how much you got? We're plugged. Tie up to the lock. But we got a lot of fish for them. They knew me. Knew them. We didn't fool around. Anytime we fished any place, our gear was on the water. You can't catch fish with gear on your deck. So, anyway, we fished in some tough weather. You know, guys came around us out in front at halfway point. We're in a set. We closed up. Here they come. They're coming from the rock pile. rock piles right out here. They're anchored out there. It's too rough for them. So here comes portable. I closed up. We started hauling. I looked down in the pit. Pulled it in. Had a half a load. Made another one real quick. We deck loaded. This was 12 o'clock. But we know Carol Inlet so well that about 4 times we went up by the line. We didn't fish with the line up. We fished little ways from 2 sets. We had 55,000 pounds. And it was only 7 o'clock. So we, in the morning, we had to run all the way to Ketchikan, offload. Next day, went in there again. 2 more sets, 55,000 pounds. The next week, we went in there. Same way. 4 days in a row. 4 days in a row. Plugged her.
Awesome.
So, we're going, you know Donnie Newman.
Mm-mm.
Remember that big totem pole right across from the Chinese restaurant? Thomas Payson.
Oh,
Remember that big totem
yeah.
pole?
Mm-hmm.
That was his dad's totem pole.
Okay, yeah.
Donnie Newman Sr.
Okay.
His boy was Crackerjack.
Mm.
He built all kinds of boats.
Mm.
Didn't build them. He'd take them and restore them. Fishing for 2 years, sell it, and get another one, restore it. He must have restored about 8 boats that I know. Buy them for dirt cheap, sell them for $300,000-400,000. But he had a big boat, and he was fishing in Carol Inlet, and we're way out in the middle. He said, "Hey, partner, come here trying to sneak by me." He said, "I see those." He could see the fish on deck. I told him, "Lots up there." He said, "Yeah, I'm doing real good there." He had a big boat.
Mm.
So we all what made it good for the size boat that I had. No long runs, no fuel bill, very small grub bill,
Mm.
real small bill. You're fueling grub.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, your crew pays fueling grub off the top. And so there's very little. Like on that, I got over a million pounds with the little boat. When he held 55,000 pounds at the most. I had over a million pounds. My crew grossed $34,000 1 month.
That's great.
each one of them. Next year, the same way. 3 years in a row, did real well. So, her and I both worked for a living. She worked for the post office for 28 years. I worked construction. And fished. So when it was time to settle up, we already had it.
Mm.
So she said she made all the settlements. She could make out a settlement. See, I think we ought to bump them a couple of cents. I look at her. Okay, good. See what it's at. 2 cents more. Because I made big money construction.
Mm.
She made work too. So after going through it and saying, I'm gonna give 2 cents more, she said, I'm gonna try one more cent. Last time, that's it, give it to him. But she was always real generous about paying. That's why I didn't have a hard time.
Mm.
Never had a hard time getting a crew.
Mm.
Paid them good. They ate good.
Mm.
I told them before the season, you want boiled fish every day, whatever. No. Okay, we're gonna buy a hamburger. Okay. So I fed them good, and I fed them on time. That's the big trick on holding the crew.
Mm.
Is how you treat them and feed them. So I found good. I cooked. He's an excellent cook.
Mm.
See, this was my kitchen. Just this here.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife got ticked off at me one day. And she said, you know, all you do is think about yourself. I said, what do you mean? Look outside. There, I had a big cruiser out there. Then I had a brand new, smaller boat on a trailer right here. And then I had my own truck. But I made sure I bought her a brand new truck. Because I worked too hard to see her drive junk. You know? She didn't care. She went. I told her, baloney, you get a new truck. So we went to Seattle and she bought a new truck. She traded the brand new truck that I bought. I bought a big, brand new Titan, 20-inch wheels. Had a canopy on the back of it that looked like part of the truck. Had side steps. Had little umbrellas on it. And it had a custom grill. And it had those bug things. And I just put, my boy did. Said, Dad, you need a new tire. He said, I'm gonna go. We're at a dealer down there. So he put brand new tires on. All brand new Michelin. Drove it home, and that big blue truck just sat in the driveway. She wouldn't touch it. Said it was too big. She was driving a little Jeep that I had. So we're gonna drive south. And we drove to San Francisco with the big truck. Came back to Seattle. We're staying by the airport for about 2 weeks. And so let's get the hell out of here and go home. Here they had a recall on the gas gauge on my truck. Beautiful truck. Beautiful. It'd tell you what was wrong with you on the panel. You need to do this. So, the hell. Anyway, we're gonna come home, and there was a dealer out by the airport that we had to go see to change the gas gauge. And here, Victor, my boy, seen a beautiful blue-green truck in the showcase. Dad, what? Found Mom's truck. Where? Right there. So he went to the dealer, started talking to him, and he got him to where he wanted him. And he traded that big red one for that big Eddie. Here, the lady at the dealership came up to me and she said, Mr. Wellington, yeah, you're nuts. She said, that's the most beautiful truck I've ever seen. If I had the money, I'd buy it. And so I told Victor to go ahead and talk to him. He said, I have to go back to the airport. I said, what for? I have to go pick Mom up. They're pulling that truck on. Put in. So he brought my wife back. They drove down the road. She came back. So they were in my big red truck. It was beautiful. So, Erin and I did a lot of, like I say, she was very generous. Very. She puts up the most fish in this town. Has big smokehouse in the back. All smoked fish, jarred fish, frozen fish. We have vacuum pack. We have halibut. We have abalone. We have all the dried fishes. And what else is in there? I have 4 freezers. So that's what we do. That's how we survive. And we just got back from Seattle.
Mm.
I had an operation. He went down with her from Anchorage. They're in Anchorage when I flew to Ketchikan. Plane landed. They're on the plane. And we flew to Seattle. And but he's very well known in the fishing industry too. Got a good name. I owned all my own. My boat, bar skip, edge. I bought 2 engines. I put in both boats. I pulled with the engines myself. Put the other 2 back in. Then I got a mechanic to come in, line them. And so, like I said, I didn't want to break down. So, anyway, we've been all over. I don't have too much more I can say. It's just that I went from as far back as I can remember that my father-in-law and my dad taught me.
Well, thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time and